saw a few days for you to sort of mull over the game on Saturday. What was been your take from it?
Yeah, obviously a disappointing start to the game. When we got to grips with it, we were the dominant team. Showed that obviously in the second half, the way the guys went about things. Just difficult. We tried. We didn't find the solution to a problem early enough in the game. We still tried to play in a certain way, which I never want us to go from. But we do have a lot of different options in terms of how we can approach things and how we can combat different the different ways teams set up. And we didn't adapt well enough to that early on. We didn't show enough of a threat, especially didn't get high enough up the pitch really. When we did and we kept it there and we sustained attack, and obviously in the second half that's all it was really, apart from they had two chances just after we scored, one after the other, which was self-inflicted. But other than that, you know, for the second half especially, we completely dominated. We should have scored a few more goals. We were good in the final third, got into good areas. Just the start of the game cost us. So on the whole, it's another point. We're becoming very difficult to beat first and foremost against anyone. But it's a game we wanted to win at home especially. But I think they changed their approach a little bit. You know, speaking to their manager after he felt with the pitch and stuff like that, he could have more of a go than they perhaps thought. And that's how they set it up, because we watched, as I said, after we watched them before, and they've not set up like that really. So it's difficult, you know, but we have to find a way to help the players on the pitch, and the players have to find a way to find a solution a little bit quicker than we did. Once we did, as I said, the performance was pretty good after half-time towards the end of the first half, but it was just that first 20-25 minutes really hurt us. So we know we've got to work. I think the beauty of having clarity in what you're doing and how you're going about things is having that clarity when you're analysing a game, when you're analysing something and trying to improve on the next one. And what I would say, whenever we've come up with a problem or there's been a problem, these players are brilliant at doing the work, making sure we go through it and learning really quickly. And you know, it's a sign of how far they've come as a group that we go behind again, but they come back and they look the stronger team, and they finish the game looking really fit, really strong, mentally trying to win the game with the supporters right behind them. So yeah, there's still positives to take, and we're all disappointed we only drew, but it is a draw, and it's another game where we don't get beat, and we're becoming, as I said, really difficult to play against and to beat first and foremost.
We're all tired of talking about it, but when those early goals go in, does your heart just feel, oh, not again?
Yeah, of course, the same as you, I think 10 times worse than anyone else feels. It is something, obviously, I don't want to keep talking about, but we have to when it happens. It's very frustrating, and we're doing it in different ways. We concede in different ways. So, but there are patterns that we've made the boys aware of, and how we start games and how we've started the last two games compared to the Charlton and Norwich game. There's a big difference in the starts, and that's a certain reason for that. So it's something we have to acknowledge and make sure we do a lot better. But yeah, it's hurting us, and it's hurt us a lot this season. It's something that has to stop, and it changes the whole context of the game. It's all right saying, you know, teams have chances later on in the game, or they have other chances during the game, but it's because of that. It's because we concede early, and they changes their mentality, changed their approach. We had a little bit too much, and I think that goal really affected us on Saturday, because we've bounced back on the whole quite well from conceding early, but probably the worst reaction we've had from conceding early was on Saturday. But it has to stop. We know that, the players know that. It's the one big thing that is a real threat to us, has been a real threat to us and really hurt us, and that's why we've drawn too many games and not won enough. But they continually respond, they bounce back from it. But when it stops, when it doesn't happen, you know, as I said, you get the Norwich game, you get the Charlton one, you get these results, Gillingham, you know. So we are really capable. I've said that all the way along. Nothing changed my belief, but we have to change approach a little bit from time to time without going away from who we are and what we're doing, because that's really important to me and what we're doing here at the club.
It's probably far too early to be talking about January transfer windows and all of that sort of stuff that's going to come along with it, but there's been rumours in the papers in the last couple of days about interest from up north for Matthew Sorinola. I mean, he's been a massive revelation for you this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been brilliant. So he was on his way out of the club when we took over. He was on a short-term contract. I really believe in him as a player and a person. So I felt it was really important to sign him and help him develop and grow, and I knew it would take a bit of time. It's probably happened a little bit quicker than we thought because the amount of detail he takes in, the way he learns. It's no surprise to me that clubs are looking at him. It's I think when I feel my responsibility at this football club as the manager is to, I've said it a lot, bring an identity, bring a style that everyone is really clear on. They have real clarity in what's expected of them in terms of their day-to-day behaviour, the actions, their role on the pitch, the staff, their role. That's my responsibility. Then it's a way of doing that. By doing that, you add value to players, you improve players, and we're only going to do that with the way that we play. You know, if you look at teams that have had a lot of success but they don't sell any players, or their players don't go on to bigger, better things because fundamentally the way they play doesn't attract people, or they don't improve enough because they're not exposed to enough different circumstances. And it's fine, you know, if you want to play a certain way, it's completely fine, but I really believe this way is a way that's going to really improve players, and it's going to make other teams really aware of them. You know, during lockdown I took a lot of calls from managers, head of recruitment, talking about various players and because of the stats they'd seen, etc. So of course you have to be willing to accept that some of these players are going to attract a lot of attention. Matty's one of them. We've got a few other younger players that will be exactly the same, and it's because of the way they buy into it and listen. So the style and a philosophy, a culture, whatever you want to call it, that improves people, improves players, and then you have to win after that. So when you do the other two, the winning will follow. There's no doubt about it. I've said that all the way along. I really believe in that. We'll win more than we lose, and we're getting there. It's a process, and we are getting there, and we will continue to work to get there. And whilst we're doing that, these young players will grow. They'll get better with us. They'll develop, as Matty has done, and he will continue to do because of his attitude. So yeah, it's no surprise to me. We want to keep our players, and especially someone who's really early on in his career. He's got a lot of improvement to make. He's got a lot of stuff to work on, and he's really willing to work on it. But for me, it's just another justification of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it. So yeah, for me, it's never a problem if we're getting people talking about our players in a positive manner. And it's up to us to keep improving them and make sure we try and keep holding them for as long as possible. And if we don't, it's a real benefit to the football club, as it was in the summer, because it's the player sales have kept the football club and the business alive. That's a fact. We wouldn't have sold them players if we weren't playing the way we were, and we hadn't improved them the way we did. So yeah, I feel really strongly about that, and hopefully we'll have even more over the next however long to work on and improve and help us get where we want to get to, and if not, help sustain this club for a long period of time.
It may have been a conversation that you've had with the chairman already, but you know, you mentioned when Callum Britton left that it was a sale that was fairly necessary to help keep the club going, and you know, now supporters are back, things are not back to normal, but they're beginning to get that way. Are you in a position where you have to sell this January, or can the club sort of sustain without having to sell anybody?
No, I don't think even those ones. It wasn't. We didn't necessarily need to sell because the business as a way of being able to support each other, the football and all the rest of it. But the money was too good to turn down for these guys. You know, at the stage they were at with us, with where we were at, and with the interest that they had because of what we'd done. You know, so I think, do we have to sell? No. But I said to you before, every club outside the top four in the Premier League is a selling club because that's the nature of the business. So if we ended up getting a valuation for any of our players, and by the way, it has to be big for people like Matty and our younger players because they've still got a lot of room for growth here, and they're a big part of what we're doing, and they're becoming really key players for us. So, but if a bid comes in for someone that's played not very many games, that is really substantial for the club, then of course I have to accept that it might be one that the chairman wants to take. But we haven't had any conversations about that, putting a valuation on him, etc., because we don't want to sell him, and we don't need to sell him, and want to keep him here and continuing to improve with us. So that's the plan. That's been the plan all the way along, and hopefully that'll be the case.
Peterborough then, a club and indeed a manager that you know pretty well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed working with Darren in my time there. We only spent about 40 months together, but it was really successful. We got promoted. He made me his captain at a really young age, so I was really grateful for that. So he really helped me, really improved under him in my time there, and really enjoyed it. And I still speak to him occasionally now. So it's a man I've got a lot of respect for. At a club I really enjoyed playing for a year. So yeah, it's good, and he's had real success there. You know, sometimes it's just a good fit with managers and club. He's been away. I think it's his 4th time there now. So Yeah, he knows the club inside out. He knows exactly what their owner expects, and they've got a really clear way of doing things. If you look at the way they've sold a lot of the way they recruit and sign people, and then they've earned a lot of money over the years of doing that. And again, that's because he has a clear way of doing things, and it's a way that I was obviously part of for a little bit. And I saw back then the talent they sold with George Boyd, Aaron McLean, Craig McCusker, and that's carried on all the way through. So they're a club that really get the big picture. They look at it, long-term strategy, and they accept, it's going to be bumpy at times. But in this league, they're really well established. They're always one of the stronger sides in this league, and they've got a real threat this year. And they invested again when they sold Tony in the summer in Clark Harris, and they've got a striker who's on real form, who's a big threat, and they've got a big threat at the top end of the pitch. So it'll be a tough game. There's no doubt about it. What I would say is, the games where maybe people don't expect us to do very well in, against the top of the league, we've put in really good performances. So I'm hopeful that's the same. And we've got a couple of things we've looked at from Saturday that we can really improve, that will really help us. And it'll be the same as any game, especially with fans back in here at our place, where we've been pretty strong over the last year. We're looking forward to it, and we'll try and take the game to them and make sure it's a game we want to be involved in. And it starts with all the the horrible stuff that we have to do a little bit better than we did on Saturday.
Horrible game, wasn't it, last season for Dons?
Yeah, it wasn't very nice, was it? It was. They were when they get into a groove, they can be really difficult. And I think they were on a good run last season when they played us. They had obviously the guy who's one of the top scorers in the Championship now, in Tony, really on top of his form at the time. And if there's something that highlights the difference between then and now, is how easily we got brushed aside by Peterborough last year, and Burton at home and things like that. It doesn't happen now. It doesn't. So it's a sign of where we've got to as a team, as a group, and we have to make sure that tomorrow we continue to build and improve again, because no one ever wants to go back to being dominated like that.
Do you find it easier to play against teams who play more expansive football?
I think against teams at the top of the league, they come with more of a confidence that they can play their own way and do things, and less focus on maybe stopping us, but try and impose their own game. Whereas against teams, and you saw it on Saturday, a team who had worked very hard, a completely different approach to how they usually do things, because they were just desperate to stop us, and they sensed they maybe could. So we have to find a way to adapt to that and be better. There's no doubt about it. But I think you're probably right. It's for various reasons, but we have produced better performances against teams at the top end of the league who try and take the game a little bit more to us than maybe the others do. But we have to find a way of having a balance with the two, regardless of who we're playing against, and making sure whoever we play against, whichever they're set up, we find a way to overcome it. And we're getting there. We're getting there with that. As I said, on the whole, we've dominated pretty much a lot of games. Burton first half disappointing, Shrewsbury first half disappointing. Really, apart from that, performance-wise, it's been pretty good, pretty consistent. So we have to continue on the journey we're on. We have to continue what we're doing, and make sure tomorrow, regardless how they come, that they might set up really differently to how they have recently. They might come exactly the same. They might come and not worry about us at all, and just completely try and play their own. However they come, we have to be ready, and we do a lot of work. We do a lot of work on us, and making sure we set the scene for the players. And then once they step over that white line tomorrow, they have to feel it and they have to live it, and make sure we produce a performance that's good enough for a result.